Hi, we are
Hi.
Matej and Anya, and you're watching Like Livers. Today we're going to be talking about a very special topic, which is how far can activism for animal rights, of course, go. And also at the end, we're going to be talking about open source activism, which is an interesting concept to talk about. But today we actually have a very special guest. This is an activist that's amazing in his things, and she does things for animal rights, of course. And we're going to be talking about her biggest projects and actions. So stay tuned and stay with us. If I'm going to find, oh my god, people, stay with us. So technical issues always has to be there, and also today. So if you're here with us, make sure that you like this video, that you share it with friends, and especially make sure that you write us your opinion in the comments below.
So, hi, Betina. Actually, so I'm very excited to have you here today because I heard so many things of you. You have very exciting projects, and yeah, looking forward. I'm just reading your description so people know a bit more about you. So, Betina Habjanič is an artist that works with documents of animal cruelty through strategies of the artistic stimulus. She's known for her performance art. Otherwise, she cooperates with animal rights activists and produces hybrid language of documents reaching line between art and activism. She assigned special attention to the problematics of speciesism, necropolitics, and biopolitics in a contemporary consumerist society while developing her intimate research in the fields between live art and digital media. So yeah, this is a very interesting text, actually, already artistic by itself. Could you explain in some sentences actually what you're doing, Betina?
What I'm doing, I was thrown in the art content. So before I was making more of, like, as I said, this digital media documentation, putting together to some content of art. I was in contemporary art scene. So my previous projects are more like in this field. So they're more conceptual. They're more art than activism. And I was fighting what is, what's the border between these two fields. So my latest these works I'm working now are more about montage, about documenting and filming footage of animal cruelty. So I'm working in different fields and putting it together in the field of artivism. So art is the tool for activism.
Cool. Actually, I'm sorry for interrupting, but we want to talk now about like a very special action that has taken place in Ljubljana 4 years ago and was like crazy. You were one person and whole Slovenia was talking about this action. I think you know which action I'm talking about. So if you could explain what you have been doing, we show the footage meanwhile you talk, so the people who are watching can see what this was all about. Let us know more, Betina.
Well, I think this is the good spoiler for this video. Let the people, here's the CCTV. The project was mainly about focusing the CCTV cameras. So we said, it's Christmas and people are eating meat heavily. So why shouldn't I be the one who gets the dinner, the whole piece of an animal? Like the body of it, without these social corrections, to holiday home dinner, And this was this cynical under-identification of me being just one person who drags its dinner to home. So I wanted to represent with this piece this hypocrisy that we are treating pieces of meat, for example, differently than the dead corpse or the dead body of an animal. So I wanted this was kind of a provocation because I wanted to see for myself how the public will react, and I didn't predict this. I thought that it would be like one day or 2 day flee, everywhere in the media. But in the end, it was really, I think, my biggest project. And I think that I'm glad that it was on media, on television, and in the air for the whole year, for example, and even now. So I think that it really got a lot of discussions, about what I wanted to trigger. So, but the trigger was artistic and performance art, and it was a bit radical because I think that we are so used to the footage of violence. We are kind of not sensible anymore because the footages of violence is like everywhere. So I think that the real stuff, the real body of an animal would appear differently than like digital media. So, and this was also really shocking for people that in what kind of form I have had this piece of meat, actually, the steak.
Yeah, actually, sorry, it's crazy. I mean, you've been dragging a pig around whole Ljubljana. Many people have been there, and how were the reactions? I mean, you say you want to show the hypocrisy. Like, how did they react when seeing you dragging around this body? How has the media reacted? This would be very nice to know.
Yeah, very differently. When we started, I was scared that somebody could phone the police or whatever, whoever there in the point where we started. But it didn't happen like that, When you are making the performance art, you always need to consider all the scenarios. You don't know what will happen, how will you manage this. So even also the reactions of people were really differently. Like some of them were really shocked, some of them were just ignoring. Some helped me, actually, 3 of them, I think, or 2 of them helped me. Like few of them thought that it's kind of a provocative action, like animal rights, or like artistic maybe. And a lot of them just thought that I'm crazy. So, but the piece is so good because of the ending, and it's like it would be the scenario, but it's not. So I came to the last station where I wanted to finish this performance, and it's like, you see, like cops, sanitarian inspection, or and people were gathered here, so they covered the body with a coat, like the body of a murdered person, you see. So and then this police there was like 1 hour, they didn't know what to do with me and what I was doing and stuff. So this thing also made the hype of this project, that the police was also included, not just people, not just like, because my sister had the car there, and I should get the pig and put it in the car and go to the shelter and give it to the dogs. But then it was the show, and this show didn't end it, and a lot of media covered this. And in my privilege, there was one reporter, and we were together in the discussion about footage and about uncensored footage. So she put, for the first time, I think, in Slovenia, the footage of slaughterhouse in Austria, but whatever, gas chambers and stunning of the pigs, So I think that art needs and can provoke the dialogue. So I think that I made this clearly good now.
Amazing.
That's actually amazing, because I remember this action specifically, like maybe around 4 years ago, when I just became vegan, and I heard about this action, and I thought honestly, like, oh, this was someone crazy, because I didn't have all the information, and also I didn't even understand what this is for, And then when we go through this media coverage, it was like all over Slovenia. Slovenia has like 2 million people. And when this went around, when we started talking about this in social media with friends and stuff like that, there were like 2 poles, there were one pole of people who were like really against this. They were like really trashing what you did. And there was another poll who said, you know what, but what is the big deal, right? Because if you just pay for the animal when you go to the store or when in the restaurant, or if you just take a steak and just carry it through the Ljubljana, it's not the difference, huh? So how did you actually get these comments or get this response of the media or maybe the society in general?
I said this already. I made a big mistake that I didn't document all the procedure of getting this body, because I couldn't just go to butchery shop and say, because you don't get the slaughtered pig with skin, with organs, with blood, with head, with hair. It's like, it's different. It's more meat. So I was calling every slaughterhouse and butchery shops and everything, and it was really that process was hidden from the site, and it really showed really good how is our treatment towards this species of animal, and it's really bad. So, but the reactions after this half production were like, yeah, I got a lot of insulting, or how do you say, threats on the mail. When because firstly they didn't know who I am, and then because there was a big show on internet, and I said, okay, what the heck, let's put the context and some kind of statement so people would understand. And then after this statement, a lot of people changed their mind. And then I got a lot of moving messages and likes and sharings. Wow. And people were calling me and asking me if I'm okay, and it's like, what, even for me, I have when I'm talking about this, for me it was the best period of my career. After this performance, it was really hard. And there was one really tasty thread. Somebody wrote me that he would like to like put a rope on the bus and my legs on another bus, and then he would like to drive this bus through Ljubljana, that I would get my skin, from the floor and bloody and everything. So it was really different, but I was touched, I was moved, because there was such a reaction. So it was bad and in good in a bad way together. In the pieces like this, if you're really radical, you need to consider that as normal,
I think the high risk, high reward, right? Because this action at the beginning would seem like crazy and maybe even stupid, maybe like, oh, don't even do this, even from activist society, right? But yeah, then, when you do this kind of thing, then it's actually very successful, just because when you put the context out, right? When you explain why you do this, and when you get a lot of attention, you can explain things. If you don't have attention, you don't have this, right? So would you say this was a successful thing, and would you repeat this?
Yeah, of course. But you can't repeat stuff like that,
Yeah.
It's like this also as an idea. Sometimes as an artist, you are researching something. You are living from, like my example, I live really radically. I throw myself in really different situations because I want to get, the feelings, the thoughts, I want this growth as a human being, so I can speak about this in art. But this idea was like, it just came to your mind. So I really struggle myself that I create ideas that in the future will also be that big as this one. But this, you can't predict this. You don't know. You're a different person. I'm a different person now than I was there, and you need to know. I am still, I'm very cynical. So I think also that because I used the corpse, with my moral standards or whatever, put one animal to death, not just one animal to death, because I want to be real. I want it to be real. And I'm cynical because I didn't know how how in more softer way should I present this violence and this industry. We like they are hiding, you know. You don't see that scene in the center of society. Never. So I would make it again, and I will try to make other stuff, but it's different, yeah.
For example, you give me some story years ago when you were interviewed by me and my project back then in Slovenia. You told me a story about an artist, I think was from Slovenia as well, that he did something with a calf. Do you remember the story maybe?
Yeah. So this was my friend, you know, when I came to academy. Just a second. Coffee. When I came to academy, I met this mentor who helped me make this peak corpse stuff.
Okay.
So he introduced me with the work of Franz Burg, and this art piece made my career. I think made my point, not point, but the way I wanted to go. So he made really radical stuff in the Schutz Gallery. It was like 20 years ago, even more, I don't know. He made a big table full of meat. So people went here, there, they were eating, as I said in your interview, and blah, 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 you know, and this arrogant scene in art world you see a lot of times. So there was a second room, and in second room, when people were filled with meat and everything, you had a calf in wooden box, and it was like cooking, like looking out of the box. So people went there and they were like, oh, what will happen here, you know? It's like, oh, beautiful calf, very, very cute, blah, blah, blah. And then he opened the box with the butcher, and he put the bolt gun on this tiny head of this baby calf and pull a trigger. So the calf was suffering, and then they cut the throat. So the calf was bleeding, like shaking. It was really shocking, and people were like, psychopath, what he did, oh my god, this beautiful calf, la la la. But he was just, you know, they were vomiting. They were vomiting because, you know, it's like this live art thing. They saw it real, they heard it, they smell it. It was real.
Sorry for interrupting. So this dude wanted to make a point, like to make people go vegan or vegetarian.
No, it was, you know, this was so many years ago that he was a vegetarian. He just wanted to speak out about hypocrisy. So people were very fancy, like they are all in this intellectual or cultural thing, being human and stuff like that. And, you know, it's all like, of course, they were eating meat as crazy. But then he was a psychopath. You know, he made something that is morally not, you don't do this. As they told me, you know, you could do the protest, but not as a vegan with the dead pig. No, you need to have some, I was in that kind of context before, you know, but then when I saw this piece of this Franz Burg, I just wanted to meet this guy because I think that it was fair how he represented the death of an animal and how it looks and how it sounds. And people were so shocked because they are not in the touch with it, but they're eating meat. They were discussing about this topic, you know, before the slaughter. So also this, as I said, for me, this was the piece where I learned that it needs to be real.
I remember actually, sorry.
Of course, you just say.
I remember just actually because I think this is very controversial for activists. Now, when Matej told me this story back when we were in the car, and I was like, but what the fuck? So you want to make a point to fight for animals and you kill an animal, no? And I was like, at the beginning, very, very shocked. But then I remembered people who work in slaughterhouses with undercover cameras, kill animals and film it, no, to show what's happening in a slaughterhouse, so that killing an animal in front of the camera to make the point is actually something that's quite common. But if you put it in this context, that this is even for activists very shocking. I mean, I don't know, people who are watching, you can write in the comments what you think, if killing an animal to make people see their hypocrisy is valid or not. But yeah, for me, this is like completely crazy angle, honestly, to think about it. Like,
of course, you know, I was the same. I was the one who was arguing with my professors about Habjanič, for example. He's one really famous and really like radical performer artist, and I was really against this also. But now I'm not, you know, because the experience as it was for these people, they wouldn't forget it. Me also, when I'm in such a context where I see, where I smell, where I do this constantly, this really affects me, you know. And you have, as we will maybe talking later, you have different strategies. So I think for me also, because I saw that much acts of violence and suffering, I started to be in action for it, you know. So I think that I don't want to glorify death and killing of an animal, but this pig that I was dragging would be dead now in one, you know, frozen shit box. And what now? He died, okay? He was dragged because I wanted to show how we treat this breed of animals. Like, it's whatever if I drag it, you know, on the floor. And there was the discussion for 1 year, and now we are talking about it, you know? And a lot of people, even when I was suing pigs together, this is also one radical like performance I made. People in Denmark is like the European concentration camp for pigs, you know, the biggest producer. People didn't ever touch the pig, the body, the skin, and they didn't know how fucking different it is if you have the dead pig body or the dead body of anybody in front of you. I saw a corpse few weeks ago. I saw for the first time, I saw the body of a person, the corpse, like, and you know, I was in shock because
can
it
you
was
maybe
so
show
real.
the pictures?
I will show the pictures in a second, but you know what? I think it's very important to understand that when we do activism, why we do activism, because some people do not understand these harder ways of activism, you know, especially because whatever you do, you know, as a vegan, let's say, whatever you do, you get some comments, bad and good. But when you do something like really harsh, you know, people like judging you and so on. But the main point is, if you do this with an intention to change people's mind and to actually do a difference, then this is actually a very effective thing. And this is my point here, you know, because all people that I know, they say, "Oh, yeah, I know what happened in the slaughterhouse." You don't know. You have fucking no idea. Because if you would be there, you know, you would not be able to eat meat. You'd not be able to actually pay to this person to kill this animal and so on in front of you. And this happens when you show this kind of footage, or when you show maybe in this environment, like you described before with this Franz, right? When he did this performance, you know, how hypocritical we are, you know. This is very wrong what he did, or maybe what you did with the pig. But then again, you know, when you get home, you put a plate in front of yourself, you know, and start eating and so on, and start talking and trashing about these kind of actions. You don't see the correlation. I think this is very effective and very important to get on board, right? Because
you know,
we have
just
such a hard time to understand some things sometimes.
Just to interrupt you, for example, you know,
Yeah.
that artist or maybe artivist or whatever, he's very, very conscious toward animals. We sometimes made the piece that brutal and that real and that radical that the media got it. That the people that is everywhere. And art, it's not like being moral or not moral or whatever. Art for me is just the communication, the trigger, the stimulus, something that makes, and we want to make a discussion. But you make a discussion if you have something to say. For example, it was a performance when this crazy guy was eating this poor animal, this poor bat, and they were calling me if I could come to some round table to discuss performance art and like putting animals to death and like torturing them in the name of art. I didn't go. I was really against this, you know, because he made just this animal suffering, and yeah, he died, but it wasn't any message out of this, you know, it was just the fool.
This is the key thing, the message, right? But now I can ask you actually directly, how far can activism go, in your opinion?
I was thinking about that, you know. I think that activism, you say artivism or activism, or
Activism for now.
Activism. I think activism is really an activism if it's your life, if it's your lifestyle, you know. So it can go to this line that it becomes you and your lifestyle, but not just lifestyle, you know. For me, and I'm proud about this, but because of art and activism, I really consciously put a lot of life privileges away, you know, because you can't fight for animals. I think you can't be really an activist if you have this and this and this and this and this. Then it doesn't, you can't work as you should work. So I think this is the, if you have really the passion, this is not a question, but it's who you are. Yeah.
So your point is that you have to, I mean, what is the point here in how far can activism go? So if you're an activist, not activist, but activist, how far can you go, you know? For example, we are not doing any art, we are activists, we do whatever we think it's
you think in that way, yeah. As I said, you know, if it's your lifestyle, you are like putting your hours of like doing whatever now that we are streaming and that we are talking about it. So it's your lifestyle. You are trying, as I said, the soldier on every front. You're trying your best. You have your media. This is like the widest representation of it, that you try your best. So it can go. I don't know. For me, I would die for it. For example, it can go. You know, even though if I die, I don't consider this as a problem because I said that my life will be put for activism and for art.
I think actually that's something that many like passionate activists or artivists or like said. I remember as well, I talked with Matej and we were about like, if we knew that we're gonna die, like at least like soon, let's make something very powerful out of it. We don't want just to die like this, but really let's do something crazy powerful with our lives. So I think that this is a thought that many people have. If we're okay, we can talk now actually about the difference of activism and artivism, because you mentioned it and you had like this question that you wanted us to have included in this podcast. It's here on the screen. You became fighter on every front and entered animal rights activism as an artist. Why is this important? So what's for you as well the difference of activism and artivism?
I entered this. Okay, this is also the answer for previous question. You know, I'm an artist. I can help with my knowledge, with my talent, with my passion, with my touch for visuality, for visual image, for sound, so I try. For me, because I am an artist, I can survive in this field. I think for me also the art is kind of, you know, I put it out. So I entered it and I stayed inside, I think, because I'm an artist, because I can represent these ideas in the way that are not harmful for me, but the paradox, I lose it. And like this what I said, like fighters on every front, and that I'm an artist, why this is important, why art is important. Because of this trigger, you know, because of this, for example, okay, we are seeing now this suing of a pig. People cried when they were, like, when I was in Denmark, I was also, this is from Kapelica, but when I was in Denmark, they said it's not art, it's a mission. And I was suing this for 4.5 hours, you know. I was a fighter, and I put this content of animal rights ideas in the field of art, in the field of culture. Some animals died. Also, no, this one died on farm. It really like it was poisoned because of the injection. But in Zagreb, for example, they slaughtered the pig because I needed to sew it together, and I was really mad when I saw this. But this action was in all the media. People were there. All the festival were talking about this action, about this sewing of a pig, about this other side of a meat, you know. So I think I can put this vision in activism, and this is the difference between artivism and activism. So it's the idea. It's an idea, but you use art as a tool. So that people that are apathic or something, you know, they can feel. Art should produce feeling.
But you said, sorry, I didn't understand that. So this pig died in the farm, but you said some other pig died in Zagreb. Was this pig killed for the performance?
Yeah, no. So it was the thing. I was When I started, I was really against. I used human blood. I didn't use anything from animals because I was such an abolitionist and what's it. But then. So I said, okay, if I want to sew a pig together, I won't be a hypocrite and kill it for have my show. You know, it's not. Its credits are gone. So this pig died on the farm because I wanted to have a pig that died, not that I killed it, that died. And we waited for this pig for 2 months. And pigs on farms, you know, they're dying all the time. They needed 2 months to give us this pig. So we put everything outside and we prepared it for the sewing, put it on the fridge, on the ice sheet, and I could sew it together. But then I was in Denmark, in Zagreb also, to perform this again because it was so big and the themes of festivals were like proper for this action. And I said again, the pig needs to die on the farm, you know? And then I came there, opened the fridge. The performance was this day, I think, or the next day, and there was a pig slaughtered for me, you know. And I was really sad, you know, because you need also in art. I saw this in my practice. You need to get a lot of compromises. You know, it's not like you go there and they are falling on the ground. What you want to do? I needed to make a compromise. So I said, okay, that pig died, but all the festival will see it. It was the big discussion for 3 days. It was on television. It was on media. It was everywhere. So I said again, okay, I made the action, but it's not moral, you know. Art, it's not moral.
The message is the thing that you need to pursue, right? The message, the big picture, although these kind of things that we're talking about now, for sure, from ethical stand of view, very, very in the gray area. But the message and the big picture are even more important if you want some change. You know, even before we said, for example, you were thinking about this, probably someone else as well, you know, we're willing to die for this cause, you know, if necessary, or maybe in some certain circumstances. But can you tell maybe more about why do you think we are willing to die for this cause? Because people do not understand, maybe not even active people. You know, why are we willing to die for this?
I know that my approach toward death, it's different now than it was when I was younger, because I was studying this topic. I saw a lot of things. I'm in that field for all my life, actually. I mean, all my life. From when I was a child. And I think that my life is so privileged that I need to be of use, that I need to give back. So if the cost of this giving back is dying, I think that it's worth it, because I think that some of us suffer more than others. Some of them, and I would be glad to be in their skin, they're okay. They can live with it. They can, they can put a facade and get a job and get a family and get a child. And I can't do it. I can't do it. I feel alive. I feel that I'm worth of being a human being and live the way I live and have what I have. Just if I put this to somebody else who's in different, in different skin. And I didn't do anything to be in that skin and to be that privileged. So, but people, I think that they're putting the privileges on the top, Also my, I don't know, family, friends, everybody, they went to seaside. They have, I don't know what kind of, things they want to live and they want to feel. And of course, if this is your thing, you need to put the suffering, you need to put the reality, you need to put all your feelings away. You can't, I think, exist in both circumstances, And if you exist as me and you, that extremely, with that kind of empathy, I think, and responsibility and the feeling of guilt. I also have the feeling of guilt as a human being. I think, again, the answer, you go the way you need to go, the far you need to go. Even if it's the end, even if
So I think it's important to understand just this thought, that, for example, I believe most vegans and most active vegans, let's say, most activists, they want to also live a good life in a way. Although we all have bad feelings about what's happening. You can live a good life.
Yeah. You can live a good life, but I think that activists aren't doing as much as, I don't want to be fascist, but they don't do as much as they say that they care.
True.
They don't.
I agree.
True.
They just do what for their did they feel better? Maybe a bit.
What do they feel comfortable with?
Yeah, but they don't walk the line. They don't go where they don't want to go. So this is the problem, I think, because I always think that if we would really care, we wouldn't create the life as it is, and the society and everything. But they don't care. They don't care enough.
I agree. No, it's like I'm as well an organizer of big actions, and I'm always shocked now when you see the people screaming animal liberation, but as far as then they need to go out in the night, to go to the farm, or it's cold outside, or they are not willing to do it anymore, no? Because it's like my comfort first. I cannot do more than this and that, and of course everyone has their lines, but sometimes I have completely the feeling that they just don't care enough, because this is a war situation, for the animals. Right now, billions of animals are suffering in the farms, and we are not ready to go out of our comfort zone or go out when it's cold. This just means you didn't understand how urgent the situation is, no?
Because you don't feel the war. This is the good. I really love what kind of term you use, because you don't feel the war. It was the same. I was studying the war, the real war, for 10 years, 15 years. And it's different if it's happening there or here, And for these activists, things aren't happening here. And for me also, when I'm in action, when I see a lot of things are all the time with me, all the time. When I was making the montage, we will talk later. For example, I couldn't sleep. I had the breathing stiska, what's that breathing? I couldn't breathe. I woke up, if I could sleep, I woke up and I couldn't breathe, And I really went the far as I can go for animals, for putting this footage out the way I think it needs to be represented.
But do you think this is sustainable for you?
Yeah, I think it is, as I said, because I'm an artist, I really love art. And for me, even when I'm making the montage, when I'm watching these scenes of violence, for example, I have a computer somewhere, and then it's like doing something and then go out and then doing something again. And sometimes people like use the computer or whatever, and they saw things I'm doing, and they're like, oh, what the fuck? How can you do this? No. but I said it's for me, I get in the trance, and I'm inside in a different level. So for me, it's sustainable. Or what did you say? Maybe you need something else. I need to be an artist. I need to reproduce also things for myself. I need to be violent. I need to be extreme. I need to be radical. I need to speak about my feelings about the stuff, that I can be an activist. And other way around, because I'm an activist, I have a lot of material to use in my art.
Yeah, but it's really touching, Story, how you express yourself in your actions. Like, I can feel you totally from talking, like you're very authentic, and I think that this is very touching for people to see during your actions. If I did the same thing that you did, probably they wouldn't understand it, because this is you. Actually, someone asked something interesting. You can show the comment. Hubert asks, he's wondering, do you think your performances are self-explanatory, or do you somehow deliver additional information to the audience? How do you make sure people get your point?
There is no point, as I said, it's just the trigger. It's just a trigger. Somebody would say, oh, you're crazy. What are you doing? Oh my God. Some will cry. Some will say that this is the mission that that is really, he's really touched. She's really touched, whatever.
But so if, for example, let's say this sewing the pig together action, or like performance more that you had. So you're doing this, the performance, and then the people, do they hear something more, that it's about how we eat animals, how we treat animals, or you just leave the performance by itself to stay with them?
This performance was really intense because of the place. It was in the old shipyard, and there was a big festival, and there was a lot of artists, a lot of philosophers, a lot of everything for 3 days, and everywhere were like parties and dancing and singing, and this human sphere everywhere. And I was the one who was in the dark corner for 4.5 hours with a needle, and I was putting this pig together, and everybody who was walking was like, what she's doing, oh my God, it was in the silence, it was somewhere there. They were partying, they were getting themselves drunk, using drugs, I don't know, a lot of art pieces, like it was the thing, the scene. And I was there, and I think the idea of this was how helpless I am as a human being, not helpless. I can't do anything, It was the problem is so big, and it was a bit bizarre that I'm sewing the pig together. You come to the stage, and you have the ground full of meat, and then you put the meat on the other side, and then you see the skin, and then you see the leg, and then another piece, and another piece, and another piece, and you are suffering, really sewing. What's that? And then it's together. It's from the pieces of meat. It's an animal. It's one thing. It's one thing that it's cut on the pieces, and it was just the pieces before. Now it's an animal, and people like when I hug this animal, whatever. We are the same. We are the same size. For example, in Denmark, the skin is the same. People were touching the pig and were really moved. And this confrontation of a being there in front of them on this party festival made them think. And this piece was morally in different position than another, because so it has a message.
Yeah. So, but then, as I understand this correctly, you don't deliver the message and they're like, hey, go vegan, you see this pig. You just really let this go to their hearts by itself. so that they can feel something when they see your performance, and think by themselves about it.
Yeah, and it was in Denmark, it was the biggest. It's the biggest producer of a pig, and they are not in touch with that. They feel. I mean, they felt ashamed that they are so huge and that this is really a problem. There, no, and we saw activists in front of the festival. There was an activist animal rights group, and they were putting this information about how big it is in Denmark. So a lot of people were discussing about this term, as I said, the concentration camp for pigs in Europe, no? And this was the whole thing, I think, was art.
I think the biggest point of art is that you actually awaken the emotions of people.
Yeah.
And you actually make a trigger, like you said before. I think this is very important because we are all looking for the triggers. As an activist, you're all the time looking for a trigger, even with recipes, even with like inspirational quotes or videos or interviews or like whatever, But here with this, you really get to the bottom of the problem. And I think a lot of people can get some trigger from that. And that's why it's also important to do other kinds of activism, right? But we're going to talk about this a bit later. First, I just want to show you your latest way of activism that you actually prefer, if I understand correctly, which is filming, editing, and showing this footage to people. Is that right? We're going to see here the footage and maybe just elaborate a bit. What are we looking at?
We're looking in the beginning of a film project I'm working on, and this film project is this is the prologue. I named it the prologue because this is the starting point of representing footage that is really violent and extreme and out of sight in the artistic kind of way, in the way of a hybrid between documentary and art. So it's a document of a slaughterhouse, but it's put in the different artistic stimulus, artistic reproach. So I would like to make the whole project out of this footage and put it on different festivals, film festivals, and try to catch more like film directing audience. So I think, as I said, these themes need to be represented in other fields. And when I was in film festivals, when I was in exhibitions, when I was abroad, when I was studying live art in London, there was zero results for animal rights topic in the whole Agency of Developing Arts. The biggest archive in Europe for performance art, there was zero for animal rights. And I think this is also, for me, I'm a soldier in that field, So I film things really intimately, I think, and I put it together also with this, my aesthetic, with my feeling, with my presence, and I try to put it on a documentary field.
Actually, it's really interesting. When Matej showed me your footage, like the first time today, like this video, I really realized how this is different from the regular videos we see, where a lot is happening. It's presented to people who scroll through TikTok, Instagram. A lot needs to happen in a short period of time that they keep their concentration. And as you said, your video is filmed very intimately. Now, actually, that I'm looking at them, I feel like somehow triggered myself. I'm often in farms and seeing this small box, seeing the ground, seeing like these metal bars, So I think it's really for people, like you say, in these film festivals and art environment to really take the time to connect with what they see, And I mean, I think it's very beautiful, like it's sad, but it's very emotional to see, and completely different angle. Now we see a little bit of blood. For me, this is very touching, and yeah.
If I can interrupt you, what's really important in this footage? It was represented in the hall, so it's different to watch it on the screen, like big screen with really good sound and loud sound. I think it gave more this presence that you are there, you know, because you have just this little tiny light, and what's this? And you are researching this darkness of this environment and this necrophilic phantasma, I said. But I also wanted, the movie is getting more and more and more intense. And, you know, I wanted for the end of the movie, in this cinema hall, I wanted to shot the bolt gun for the end and just darkness. So I wanted with this film, with this footage, if you watch it correctly, or I mean, as you could, the best you could, it really gives you this anxiety. So I wanted the whole hall to be, I mean, to shit, no? Like, because on the other side of the screen, I wanted to shut the bolt gun, you know, and put it on the microphone, so the experience would be real. And we are again in my kind of motto that it needs to be real, it needs to be there, it needs to trigger all your senses, you know. This is the emotion. It gets from there, emotion, and then the thought, no?
Cool. You see, we have another question here. I think it's very related and good, well put. First of all, it's Toby and Nele. A great interview. It's good to have such a variety of activism. How do you measure, Betina, the effectiveness of this type of activism? And can you?
I think that the biggest effect of my pieces was montage. You know, was the movie that was showed in the national TV for a couple of times. That there was a ministry who was discussing this problem of Slovenian farm. So I think that the more things are activistic and not artistic, more they are, of course, how do you say, effective in activism. No, so this footage, I mean, it's I don't know how to measure effectiveness, you know. I don't know. So when I made this dragging of a pig, I think that it was really effective because it lasted 1 year, because everybody was speaking about it, because everybody was, you know, for example, this footage of this farm, a lot of Slovenians, even though it was everywhere, they didn't see it. So I think, you know, it compares, because you have a lot of effectiveness if you do some radical stuff, but in other hand, it's not effective because the animal died. You know, you need to get the compromises to. I mean, so in one hand it's effective, and in other hand it's not. So also depends on the media. You know, if you are filming stuff, you don't harm anybody. If you are making stuff from live art and body art, and as in this footage, you get the body of a dead pig and film it, you did some harm.
Yeah, but I think this leads us actually to something very interesting in general. How can we measure effectiveness for any action?
We all have these challenges, yeah, all the time.
Whatever we do, you know, like we started, like Nele is very involved in this lingerie protest in Switzerland, now where we do activism in underwear, which got a lot of trash as well, where people say this is not effective. We have the cubes, we have like radical actions. How can we measure? You know, I think it's a feeling that we have inside when we look into people's eyes, what they feel, how it's perceived, but as well when we see, you know, if the actions go to media or not. But there is not a scale where we can measure activism, like really measure it, because we don't know, did someone go vegan, did someone like become an activist because of my actions? And this is why it's very important not to support any kind of activism and artivism, even if for us it seems bizarre, because we don't know how this is for the public and how effective it is. Yeah,
I agree. And you don't have one kind of type, you know, that it's appropriate and that it's the most effective. You don't have. As I said, in this soldiers thing, You know, your field is different field. My field, I was cooking in vegan restaurants. I know maybe this was more effective than my art. A lot of people said to me, you know, you should cook. but I'm trying everything, you know. I'm trying in different fields. As I said, I do conceptual, like high art. I mean conceptual art, or I do just filming. I do montage. I do cooking. I do, I don't know, concerts, gathering money, speaking with people, the debates, like putting different profiles of people in the discussion. And you can say, as anybody can say, you know, I don't agree with this because but the problem is that people aren't just wanted to help you with the correction, I say, but they are just having this kind of ego trip, you know, and we are just, as we were talking with Matej, we are just fighting with each other and losing our time and energy and everything to I don't know, teach one another what's the right thing. There, it's not a right thing. Even art, it's not the one thing. What's art, you know? And this is nonsense. I think I was also very strict and very fascistic, but I'm not anymore, because I the more I am with different people, the more I see that we are so different. We are so different, and there is no one way. And there is also, you know, you do stuff, you don't stand behind a few years later, maybe you change, you know, everything's changing. And I think that this trying, not because of people, but, you know, because of animals, because for yourself also. I also think that even if I can change people, you know, I changed myself, and I'm proud. I'm proud of the way I became because of animal rights activism.
For example, I started this activism in a way that the best way possible to convince a lot of people or get a lot of people on board is to be inspiration. And we started these stories of the vegans, which means like interviews with people who are vegan now and their stories and so on. But you know, when you go on the road, when you want to achieve something, you are looking for the best possible option. And it's not always that you're going to do the best possible option. It's always the best that you can do. And also it's the best that you can actually be comfortable with, if you don't want to go over this. And I think it's the space and the room also for people who are not like comfortable with doing this kind of activism that you do, or that do that kind of activism that we are doing. But everyone can do something, and whatever you can do is good. And this is actually the point of this open source activism. So you can all add some value to this, because we need recipes. We need people to be inspirational. We need people to be like very gentle. We need people to be like really direct and aggressive and so on. And you know what? In this regard, I would like to ask you a question that pops out in my mind quite often. How do you deal with attacks, with people who attack you because of your actions? How do you deal with this? We have some experience in this as well. So how do you deal with this issue?
You know, now I maybe sound a bit... I think that reality is so bad that I don't really consider with these attacks. They don't really harm me. I mean, these days now I got some threads on net, on Gmail and stuff, and I started to put it out of my site, you know, because it doesn't matter. Even I sometimes don't know why I do stuff I do, but I think that it's important that you are yourself, that you're honest with yourself, you know. And what somebody else think, I mean, you can't really affect this, you know. And for me, I think it would be just the loss of my energy, of my vision, of my way of seeing and of feeling this as I do, you know. I can't escape this. And people, I think I need to say this, that if you are in the fields of this violence, as I am, you get violent, you know. You can't represent that war in a soft way. You can't.
The closer you are, the harder it is, huh?
Yeah, and your skin is like, I a lot of people ask me, how can I do the stuff I do, no? Because I started to be less sensible, and I use more violent, because this violence is there, is all the time, it's now, but we don't want to see it. The slaughter industry is designed that way that we don't see it, we don't feel it, we don't get it. Even the people who are killing animals are safe, you know. They aren't, the slaughter industry builds the machinery that the person is not on the spot of killing. It's the gas, it's the electricity, you know, this gas chamber for pigs. They put the pigs inside, they just go. I have a footage where they are yelling, more down, put it more down, no, bit up. And these frightened pigs are in this box. They're not in touch with that. The camera is, you know, they aren't. So I think that the violence needs to be represented, that we need to see that extreme violence, because it's happening and we are causing it.
And also there should be a good message to vegans who are watching these things and do not agree with some actions. I think it's important to address this topic, you know, because if you're vegan for the animals, because you can be vegan only for the animals, otherwise you're not vegan. Maybe you can be plant-based and not agree with things, but if you're a vegan because of the animals, then I think it's important to address that you should not trash other vegans when they do whatever they do. Because if you're not like in their shoes, maybe they're like you are, you know, in the slaughterhouse, in a farm, somewhere where like really terrible things are happening, you know, then you cannot understand. And when you understand these kind of things, of course, like you said, you know, you cannot represent war in a nice way. You cannot say like, oh, there's a war, you know, but like just try this meal and so on. Of course, you can as well. But the point is, we should not trash on each other. How important this topic do you think it is in our community?
You're asking me that?
Yep.
I wanted to just the thought, you know, then show me better. Show what do you think it's right. This is just the last thought, that people are just putting finger on you, you know, and they are criticizing you, but they don't do anything. They don't do anything. For example, I was thrown out of the just one thing, it's the story. I was thrown out of the apartment because I had 2 dogs and they were inside of this apartment more time. Yes, because I was making this montage for 1.5 months, and I wasn't okay, and I needed the space and I needed time and I needed to put it out. And the people throw me out of the apartment because I'm a dog abuser or whatever, because the dogs were it was summer, you know, they were inside and I needed to work. So I said to them, you know, I was working in animal shelter for 8 years. I saw stuff you don't imagine. And then I went to even harder industries. I saw and see such a violence, and don't tell me about the dog that it's in an apartment, you know.
You know, so, I think. Sorry.
Show me better. Then you get the dogs, and then you help me, you know. Then you just don't criticize, but people get themselves. Oh, no, I would just say no, and I don't like this.
Yeah, you know, it's so easy to judge, but you don't see what is behind, what people work on behind. And as well, it's very, in my opinion, it's very disrespectful for the animals who are in these cages, for the animals who are in the slaughterhouses getting their throats slit open, to trash on other people who do hard work for them and make them lose energy, lose your energy for the animals. Because if you were trapped in these farms, you would want people to fight and not to chit-chat between each other and tear each other down and make themselves weaker. Again, this is because people don't understand it's war. It's not some game. It's really serious. And yeah, it's so easy to judge when you don't know.
Yeah, so but you asked, I agree. And I'm glad you think the way you think.
Yeah, we are too.
Makes us 3.
Makes us 3.
And you say how important it is.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, it's sorry, I thought you were just
no, just tell.
Yeah.
No, go on, Betina. So tell me how important it is, to address this topic and to talk to people who are trashing on other vegans, or other activists, let's say, who do the job.
I think it's important the presence of it in, as I said, in different fields. When I started to be a vegan, I didn't have money. I was a child. I mean, I was really young, and you couldn't buy vegan food. Today you have everything everywhere. I'm glad. Today, this summer, I saw the jumbos of vegan food, on the streets. So I think the urgent thing is that it's happening right now, that it's presented widely. So that's why I say it needs to be represented in art, it needs to be represented in literature, it needs to be represented in public space, it needs to be in all kinds of mediums. But we have a problem, no? Because the theme and the topic, it's not pleasant, They don't want this, because how could it be everywhere if it's so hard to live with it, And here we have a problem that people don't better put it away. So in one hand you have veganism and options everywhere, but this animals behind this is the hidden, and it will be. So I think it's really the necessity that we fight that for the transparency, without my political view and ideas and I don't know what, but just that the themes, that the footage, and that these practices that are totally legal, and getting in the human history. Now we are in the height, and we're getting higher. So I think that we need, as a society, we need to see this, the all aspects of it, even the violence. I think that showing the violence is also really important.
Actually, you said something that I mentioned a lot. Like,
oh my God, it's like, I'm sorry, internet. It's yeah.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
No, I just want to say that you said it. There are more and more vegan options, and many vegans feel like comforted in it. Like something is happening, but meanwhile we see bigger and bigger farms being constructed. And I think this we really need to keep in mind. Like meanwhile there are more options, still the meat consumption is rising. And that's
I don't hear.
You don't hear us? Oh no.
The internet.
Technical issues at the beginning, and now again technical issues.
So do you hear us now or not at all? Because we should be okay.
We hear you.
You don't hear us. Okay, let's just go.
Is that okay? I don't hear.
Okay. Do you hear us now?
Are we now here? Betina, do you hear us? No.
Nene, do you hear us now?
Okay. I think we're gonna conclude this interview with technical issues, but
Okay, now it's back again. Ha!
People hear us now. Voice of the voice. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Just a second.
Good, we're back.
Okay, do you hear us now?
Yeah, I hear you.
Amazing.
Good.
Yeah, thanks for
Oh my
having
God.
stayed in the line.
This is as I said, this is not the live thing, so yeah.
Yeah, it happens. It happens, I guess. So in any case, we're gonna conclude this interview now.
So
For now, maybe.
I will say the same that I said before, without that we had any sound, because it's very important.
Yeah.
I think one of the points of this whole interview was to think outside of the box. Like we really do mainly the actions that we know. We do cubes, vigils, protests, and all of that is important. But to think out of the box, to think bigger, and as well to see that you can reach the whole country alone if you have a great idea, and to be loud, to be different, to grab the media's attention, and then you can deliver the message to the public as you want and as you think is the best for the animals. Because they deserve that we are loud for them. Yeah.
And I would just add here that you need to also do the things that are hard for you, maybe, and also new things, just to try. Like we discussed before, there's so many ways of activism, and some activism seems very effective, some doesn't seem effective, but you really don't know. So the point is to do whatever is possible for you, whatever is sustainable for you, and especially do something new, try new things, find out new ways and so on, because only in this way, in the long term, we can get to a lot of people, and in general, get to the idea of vegan world. And this is actually the outcome of our activism. I believe for Betina, I believe for us, I believe for so many other people. And if you really want to be active, do as much as possible, connect with other people, and don't trash on vegans who are doing the job as good as they could.
And maybe as well, to conclude our title, how far can activism go? Even if you think at the first glance an action is too crazy, this is too much, think again about it. Maybe not. Maybe it's exactly what we need to get attention for the cause. No, because I think even if I was not in front of this big cinematic, like what Betina said in this room, watching her videos, it touched me already to see this completely different angle of showing footage. And so do what you're good at and try new things.
So Betina, thank you so much for accepting this interview, this podcast. I think it was very useful. I hope people who are watching this and even later on, not right now, that you can actually like this, share, comment, and really put this away so a lot of people can see these ideas, these options that we have as an activist. And also, of course, you can connect with Betina. Maybe you can even cooperate in some ways. So thank you again so much for accepting this interview. How was it for you, this experience?
For me?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was nice. I always think that I speak too much, but I can't say things as I want if I put a limit. So sometimes maybe I'm talking too much and don't get the point of it immediately, but it's also, as I said, it's being really me and honest, and just try to really put the ideas out the way the person I am would do.
You're
so
very interesting.
It was really...
So
you're not talking too much. You just have a lot to say. You have a lot of experiences and ideas.
It's amazing. Is there something you would like to say in the end?
End. First, I think I want to ask if anybody has some questions, because I really like to put answers, even for myself, because people don't ask me stuff. They just judge and don't ask, mostly.
Good one.
But
I think we can also ask the people who's going to watch this later. They can still put questions in the comments below. Betina can also answer them later. And maybe when we can do something like this again in the future, together, maybe even something else. So in any case, we're going to have more opportunities to do this. But for now,
For now, I think that Anya, you really ended it nice. And also, if you do anything you do, it's the platform for others. So if it's crazy, if it's not crazy, if it's like anyhow you do it, it's a platform where other can come and cooperate and say what they think, and put actions in different positions. So I think it's urgent to work on that field, because we need to get together, and that's why, not how, but just work.
Just do whatever is necessary, or whatever you think it's going to work, right? Because this is also inspiration for other activists, for other people who want to do something. And also, for sure, you never know how effective this could be, because if you can just change one person, and this person can change maybe 10 millions, you never know what's going to happen. So yeah, do what you can, speak for the animals, and really focus on the victims, know why you're doing this, and yeah, that's it.
So yeah, people subscribe or follow and share this video, please, because I think it was an amazing interview, very interesting as well for us. Like, comment, and yeah, thank you for supporting us, and get in touch with Betina if you have more questions.
With Ax, actually.
Ax, sorry.
Yeah.
Betina,
have a beautiful evening, people. Thanks for watching and supporting us.
Betina, one more thing you want to say?
The silence.
No? Silence. Good enough. Thank you so much. Have fun. Good night, and see you in next episode. Tschüss.
Bye-bye.